Oh, Abdo 8. Let's see, let's play d4 here. Okay, Abdo 8, where is he from? Libya, interesting. Okay, d4 or d5, let's see what kind of game we get. Can play the Slav or, the Chigorin. Okay, I'm not sure what the best line is against the Chigorin. I'll just develop with knight c3, put some pressure on the d-pawn. Yeah, I've tried playing the Chigorin a few times myself, but I don't really have a great understanding of it at this point. It's kind of a fun way to play for black. You get into different lines. You often give up your bishop for a knight. Let's see. Was it a mistake to sacrifice that pawn? I'm going to play. He's threatening to take on. He's threatening to take on d4 immediately. So I will play this move, e3, to try and get the pawn back, and defend d4 at the same time. Yeah, okay, so he's going to give me the pawn back right away, which is good. I don't like to be a pawn down for nothing. Although maybe there was some compensation if he did it. I don't know if he could have held on to it, really. B5 looks dubious. I could take it. Okay, so he gets his pieces out. He put his bishop on f5. If you play the knight to f3 right away, I think bishop to g4 is one of the main lines. And when the knight is here on c3, there's often the idea of pinning the knight this way. But I think it's safe to castle here. So, and then yes, there he goes, going after the knight. So I can play knight to h4 here, hitting his bishop. This knight, my bishop is loose too. He can go after it, but I can retreat it. Could kick his bishop, try and force an exchange. There's no check here. Yeah, I like this knight h4 going after the bishop. The question is, what am I going to do if he just goes bishop to g6? Do I want to take and open up the h file? I think I will just sit here for a while. I also have to be careful. There's a discovered attack on the knight, so I have to watch out for knight moves. Knight to okay, so he goes there. Let's just drop back. This is my good bishop. Yeah, maybe I've done something to help black out here. But I didn't want to play f3 and block the retreat of this knight. This knight would have nowhere to go. Yeah, I really was expecting bishop g6, and I was going to leave the knight there and think about some other move to play, maybe a3 rather, kicking his bishop. Okay, in this position takes. I take back with the queen. If he takes the knight, I'll take with the pawn. That gives me a stronger center, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, he just kicks the knight with the pawn. Yeah, so the knight doesn't have anywhere to go except back. And he keeps pushing forward with the pawn. Now that's interesting. Where do I want to put the knight? Maybe up here. Knight to this square might encourage an exchange. And then what? Oh, then he has to move his knight, and then I can grab a pawn over here. A bit dangerous for a pawn grab, really. So I'm not convinced that I really want to take that pawn, because it opens up the G file onto my king. Knight takes, pawn takes. Depends, I guess, on where this knight moves. If it's safe to take there. It's probably safe, really. But he could, the funny thing about this, knight takes, pawn takes, and then after he moves the knight and I do something, he could also take this knight and really mess up my pawn. So I'd have two doubled pawn here and an isolated pawn on A and on C3, A2 and C3. Okay, so he takes. Step 1. I have a tempo move rook to D8 at some point, which would be pretty interesting to play because he doesn't. Yeah, so he takes there. He's just gonna destroy my pawn structure. Let's see, if I take the knight, then he can take back with the bishop. He can take the pawn with the bishop. So I should take here. And now he's got to move the knight. So we get that destroyed pawn structure. I have one check over here, but that doesn't seem to do much. The knight here attacking my c-pawn is interesting. And knight to c3 after I move the pawn is not a threat. Knight to b4. I don't think it's a threat. I can't pin the knight. It's kind of funny, but rook here, he can take the pawn anyway because he's attacking my queen. I take his queen with check. Then take over here. Actually, that does pin the knight. Let's do that first. And threaten c4, winning the knight. Yeah, these tempo moves are important. So knight here attacking my queen, but rook takes queen with check, so he has to deal with that first, and I have time to save my queen. I think that wins material, although I have a back rank problem too. If he brings his rook here, it'd be threatening, but maybe just retreating the queen to f1 or e1 would be sufficient. Okay, so he gets his queen out of trouble. It defends his pawn. That looks good. Okay, so let's oh, now I have a problem with knight c3 because it forks these two pieces. So what's the best way to do this? Just defend the pawn with the bishop, maybe. He's not yet threatening anything on my king. It takes him a couple moves to get his rook involved. But there is attacking potential here. I'm not dismissing this idea. I just have a few moves to prepare. Yeah, so now I can play e4 or c4, force that knight to move, and eliminate some of the attacking force here. One way to play it. I could just play my rook up to d4. That's looking interesting, putting pressure on the g-pawn. If I could take there with the rook and chase his queen away, that'd be good. But rook d4, he probably just defends with the h-pawn. Then what? Well, then I can double rooks. And I can still push c4 at some point to harass that knight, or e4. It will probably help me to get rid of some of these rooks, just because he does have attacking ideas over here. Let's see, if we count the material, it's all even, huh? 2 pawns against 3 and 4 pawns against 5. And I have doubled pawns, but he has this advanced pawn that might be weak in some circumstances. I guess even h4. Oh, he does that. I thought I would just take en passant, leaving him with some isolated pawns here. And let's see, if I play c4 and he plays rook takes rook, I can take back with the bishop, pinning his knight, but he can unpin pretty easily. I think it's better to double rooks here, unless there's some threat with his knight I'm not seeing. So now my pawn structure doesn't look so shabby. In fact, here I have a choice. I can fix my pawn structure with pawn takes, or I can keep active with my pieces with rook takes. I think I favor the piece activity. This pin on the g-pawn is kind of nice. I have the idea of c4 and maybe a discovered attack on his knight. And I have a back rank issue I have to keep in mind. Take care of that carefully. But in this position I could play h3 and just win that g-pawn maybe. But he just plays h5 again. And I don't want to take because that opens up the h file completely. And I might get looking very matish there. So probably, oh, that's interesting. He goes there. And if I go here to attack his pawn, that gains a tempo. And I'm going to push c4 and attack the attack his e-pawn. So I think I'm starting to get all my pieces into the game. Yeah, so he defended with the king. Here I will push. Hitting the e-pawn here with my bishop. And let's see, if the e-pawn comes forward, I even have... No, he can't move the... yes, he could. He could move the e-pawn because this knight is defended by the queen. I could try chasing the queen away, but I think, yeah, the queen has adequate squares to go to defend the knight. So he could play pawn to e5, but then I have bishop, pawn to e4, but then I have bishop to d4 ganging up over here. So he comes back to defend this guy. Okay, so what happens on f4? Pawn takes. Let's push this pawn forward one more step. Now maybe I'm threatening f4. Pawn takes hits the queen. He can take the advanced c-pawn. I'm just not sure. He will have a back rank problem if he ever lifts his rook because his king is in a position to be mated there, but it's not happening yet. Tricky. So, biggest thing I have going for me here, well, I think his pawns are a bit scattered over here, but his pieces are active. His rook is not yet playing. It's hard to say. And my pawns are weak over here on his king side, so it's kind of, we have offsetting weaknesses here. But he's getting behind in time. This may be the deciding factor here. Yeah, he goes there. Okay, so f4, I have to think about this. This gives me a little bit of space for my king. Hits the queen. If he takes en passant, I just take back with the queen. And now I'm targeting this this knight maybe. I'm looking at pawns over here. If he doesn't take, then he could take, and then I take back, and then he has to move the queen. And then what? Oh, then he grabs this pawn. No, he can't because his rook is hanging. I mean, his knight is hanging, so he can't take on c5. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. There's bishop here. He takes on c5 with check. He'd take on passant. Okay, so all of that discussion was moot. I'm holding onto this pawn with my queen, so this check is not happening. It opened the G file, but I think I can defend this square. G2 or play G3 at some point. And how can I get my rook here attacking the pawn? Or maybe just rook here attacking his B pawn. The queen and rook coordinate on B2. His pawn, his knights and his pawns cover all these squares. Okay, so he's threatening here maybe. That's covered at the moment. This also defends my bishop, as well as threatens on B7. My queen's guarding D1, where his rook comes in. I was thinking he had this distraction technique. Queen takes here, check, queen takes, rook down here, check, but it's no longer a mate because the king can run to F2, the importance of having those escape squares. If his knight were here, that would be a problem. Like, who goes forward with the pawn? Oh, he shuts down this diagonal. That's not a bad idea. But he left his rook open. I mean, he left his knight open. Okay, so queen takes knight. He's got queen here, check, and rook here, check. Yeah, that's I don't know if that's possible to even play. Queen takes. If he goes with the queen check first, and I move my king, rook here is mate. If I interpose with the queen, then rook down here check, and I lose my queen. I can't defend it and the king at the same time. Funny. Yeah, so it's so tempting to take that knight, but I didn't see any way that it was safe to do that. I have rook to D4 here, opposing his rook and threatening the back rank mate. Okay, now he moves his knight, attacking here. Let's pin the knight. So if he takes here, I take there. Queen takes, and then I take the knight, and his check here can be defended, I think. Yeah. Okay. What's going on now? Okay, his knight is defended. His pawn is loose. There's a check here. Let's let's start by defending this pawn. It's attacked twice, and I'm not quite sure at what point he can threaten to take that. And then think about if I can exploit this diagonal here against his king. It's going to be quite a tricky position. His knight can now hop in here to C3. I'm thinking of playing queen F2 anyway. So he's looking. Oh, he's covering that diagonal. Okay. Queen to H4 here hits his rook. Bishop to D2 would defend against some knight entries. Okay, he moved his rook there. I'm not yet threatening to take. Okay, let's play bishop to D2, keeping his knight out of some key squares there. You know, he's pretty well fortified. I guess what he's threatening is, okay, there goes the knight. Don't I have something here? Queen here hitting his rook. No, it's not a threat. Queen here, maybe, would force some exchanges. Because his queen is pinned. And yeah, his knight can come in. So if I'm not getting mated, This looks like I picked up a pawn at least. Yeah, he just got in a little trouble for the time, and yeah, I think he's having trouble defending everything. Let's see, can his knight attack my rook? Yes, it can attack it from here, but I can go rook f2. Okay, he plays there. Let's get my bishop out of trouble.
Check.
Okay, I think I'm holding on to everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have an extra pawn, and it's over here on the queen side. So I think I can just push these pawns and win that way. So as long as I don't lose on time here, I should be okay. Let's see. Does he have some trick here? I don't see it. I went back there. Okay, I'm going to keep pushing. I can bring his king over, huh? Okay. Let's see. How about if I go here, rearranging my my bishop to b2 to support the pawn here. I probably should have pushed the pawns in a different way. That's kind of a strong knight there. Okay, there he goes again. He's threatening to come over here with this rook. I don't think that mates me, though. And I think I'm winning, finally.
Check.
Okay, he went there. There's another check here.
Check.
And then here, are there any more checks? He still can't stop this pawn. Yeah, so I get a queen at least. And his king is close to being trapped. Let's see.
Black resigns.
Yeah.
Incoming challenge.
Okie doke. Well, I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.